On today's isolation conversation, I'm chatting with Scott Hartwich on the topic of family. What are the principles that he has built his family on, and what are some of the things that have worked well and some of the things that may not have worked so well? So let's dive right into it. Okay, here we are. It's working. Hey, Scott, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing very well. Today, we have Scott with us. If you're listening today, we are going to be talking a little bit about family. Because family is the foundation of pretty much society. In fact, I got this awesome quote by a guy called G.K. Chesterton, one of my favorite authors. He says this: "The family is not only an institution, but a foundation, the foundation of nearly all institutions." I love it. He also says, "This triangle of truisms of father, mother, and child cannot be destroyed. It can only destroy those civilizations which disregard it." And so all throughout history, you learn that when a civilization dies, pretty much, the first things to die is the institution of family and then the arts. So family is a foundation of society, but it's also a foundation of Christianity. And so we're going to be chatting a little bit about how you do family, your family values, and what better way to start than to talk about the exciting things that are happening in your family at the moment.
I know. It's very exciting in our household. We've got me. I'm going to be a grandparent. I feel way too young to be a granddad. I don't even know what I'm going to be called. So is it Poppy? Is it grandfather? Is it granddad? Who knows? But yeah, that's happening. So that's exciting.
Poppy sounds nice and fluffy.
No, I don't think so. And we've also got a wedding at the end of the year. So Jesse's getting married in December. So that's exciting. It's all happening there. And as you know, we're building a house, and it's going to be in a process for the next 12 months. But the whole idea of that was to facilitate family.
Yeah,
Stace insisted we've got to have 5 bedrooms. Well, we've got 4 children, so we need bedrooms that are big enough to have double beds and just facilitate family. Otherwise, you're stuck in a 2-bedroom house.
Yeah.
And then for Christmas, people have got to take a number, you know. It's so we're very excited. Life's there's never a dull moment here at the moment.
I love it.
And actually, we've got Kelly staying here. That's Jesse's fiance. So she's staying here. Really just living with us for the rest of the year, which is exciting. We're so blessed to have that, just to build a relationship with her and get to know her better. So
amazing.
It's a good thing.
Amazing. Yeah. I think from me on the outside looking in, the Hartwich family has always been like an incredible family, and your value is actually a lot of just what I've seen. A lot of your life and the choices you make are around family. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah. I wonder if, because I'm in the Air Force, we moved around a lot. So when you move around, you've only got each other. So kids starting schools haven't got, and it's come home and we talk about it, and we have to that's forced on you when you go up to Darwin for 4 years with no family up there at all. And life happens, you know. So you've got you're your own unit. You look after each other and you protect each other. And we're pretty. Stacey is a big proponent of it. Like she's the glue behind everything, and I'm so thankful for that. Really,
amazing. So really tell us a little about your family. How many kids have you got, and what are their ages?
So we've got 4 kids. The eldest is Megan. She's 23. She's the one pregnant.
Yeah.
And she's married up north in Brizzy. Then we've got Jesse. He's currently overseas with work. He's 21, going to be engaged. He's engaged. Ashley's doing year 12. And Holly is grade 3, 8 years old. So there's a big spread, bigger than most. But, you know, it was such a blessing. Like Holly came along when Megan was 16. But she was like a little sparkle that just came into the household. It was just,
yeah, that's cool. And
cool.
I think you're the perfect person to chat to, because you're kind of in every single stage at the same time.
Yeah. Yep. Someone said, I don't know who said it, but I tell people like growing kids is not for the faint-hearted, because you don't know when they're little. In some ways, it's easy when they're little. You can control what their environment, you can control what they put into feed on and read, listen to, and all of that. But when they become older, it becomes a more of an attitude of the heart, and you're dealing with heart issues, and that's where relationship matters. That's
absolutely.
where you've got to sit down and you don't want to change the action but not the heart, because then as soon as you take off the boundaries and the restrictions, then you see what really is in their heart. So that's a challenge, but it's an exciting one. I think it's the way, like you said at the start, it's the foundation of what we do as God's kids, to be honest, because he instigated the family and he said, this is the model, create a safe place where everyone's working together and treating each other right and growing. And in that melting pot, we hopefully we grow and we learn and ultimately become more like Jesus.
Absolutely.
That sort of sounds a bit cliche, I know, being in church, but I look at all my problems, all the issues that come up, and I think if Jesus was here and he was running it, he'd solve it, no problem. He'd have an amazing family. And so I think most of my problems can be solved if I was just a bit better, a bit more like Jesus. I could probably solve my problems. So that's where, if there's any things that come up, that's our first go-to. Stacey and I will,
And I love that. Like you said, family isn't a man thing; it's a God institution. Like it's designed by God, just like marriage. So if we decide to kind of just take and run with it, however we want, we have a tendency to kind of warp it into something that it's not intended to be. So let's talk a little bit about that. When you say it's a God idea, what are some of the, like, he may not say this is the time you need to put your kids to bed and this is all of those, but there are principles that God has put in place. And when it comes to your family, what are some of those guiding principles that guide your family?
I try to stick away from the rule thing, because every child, like we have 4 kids and they're all different. So you can't, what worked for Megan doesn't work for Holly or Jesse or Ashley. They're all individuals and none of them come with rule books. So my philosophy is I have to treat, I'm talking about kids, but I guess it comes across with everyone, but treat each of them as though the way God treats me. So when I do something wrong, God doesn't come down and whack me over the head and get cranky and cause distance. He invites me into a closer relationship, and he invites me to see the error of my ways and then lovingly, with open arms, corrects me in that. And there's never anything that goes on. It's all about connection. Everything that we do, it's about building connection. So it's probably me, I don't like to let anything settle. Sit. So if someone's grumpy or they're moody or whatever, we don't let that sit. We say, come on, let's talk about it. Let's resolve this. I think there's a proverb that says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath.
Yeah.
We apply that to not just between Stacey and myself, but across everyone. We won't go to bed until the relationship between me and the kids is right.
Yeah.
Because it's so important. Stacey and I have a couple things we pray for. One is that all our kids would love God and have a soft heart towards him. And the other thing is that if they're ever in a spot of trouble, that they will come to us. Yeah. And that's been a really worthwhile thing, that they can always know that they can run home and mum and dad aren't going to whack them over the head. It's always a soft place to land,
Yeah, that's actually massive. Before I kind of chat about one thing that you just said, there's one thing that I've always looked up to when it comes to you is that you have this go get 'em attitude where it's like, if there's some tension here, I need to address that and work through it together. I've heard it said that it's like confronting the 10,000-pound gorilla in the corner. If you just leave it there, it's going to grow. It's going to grow.
It just grows. Hey, yeah. I don't like tension in the house. I really don't. I don't like anything that causes a disconnect between our relationship, between me or the kids. So we go after it, and we go after the heart, and that doesn't mean telling them what's wrong. It sometimes means humbling ourselves as parents, saying, "Hey, what have I done? Where are you at? Talk to me. Let's work this through." Because we look at them, and I think this is a big thing that everyone in the house has to know without a shadow of a doubt, that we love them. I sit down with my kids and I tell them, I said, you tell me one person in the world that loves you more than Mum and I. Name one. And they can't come up with one. Holly is the best. She goes, oh, Jesus. Besides Jesus, tell me one person that loves you more than Mum and I. And they can't come up with one. So I said, so from that basis, of love, then you can say, right, now let's have a chat. Yeah. There's no one else that loves you more than us. So where are we with this? And it's worked out well. But life's tough outside the family. So we figure life's going to pull people into line. They need a soft place to fall. Yeah. Life's going to be like, if things don't go well, they pretty soon learn the hard way. And this has to be a safe place to be able to run back to and just cry on a shoulder if they need to, or get some advice, or pick them up. Yeah. But we won't fix their problems, but we'll help them fix their own.
Yeah, and that's amazing. The safe place at home. I
think so.
I think that, like, currently there's so many misinformation of and it's really information that's attacking the institution of family, that it's like, in culture we favor the mother over the rest of the family, or in situations we favor the child over the rest of the family, or the father over the rest of the family, and it's not just the family itself. And
that's interesting you say that. I still think that the foundation of everything has got to be that relationship between mum and dad, though.
Awesome. I was just about to head there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
If that's, from my perspective, it's my relationship with God, me being right with him is my responsibility. Yeah. But from that, I've got to be right with my wife, with Stacey. And if that is strong and we're on the same page and we're united and working together, everything else seems to work. You don't get this, well, mum said and dad said, and fighting against each other. And you know, we're a united force. And so then we say, well, this is the way we're going to do this. And then it's just done. It's like the law of the land being laid because mum and dad are in agreement.
Yeah,
it just brings a peace and a settle to the house. There's no use fighting, because what are we going to? Yeah, it's and that's where it starts.
And I think, like, there's a lot of misconception around this, because generally the verse that gets quoted is, "Wives, submit to your husbands," but then they miss the verse that literally says afterwards that husbands, love your wife as Jesus loved the church. He died for her. So it's fighting for, you said, bringing into unity together between you and Stacey. How do you do that practically, and what's the strategy around that?
Oh, wow. We've been married 25 years, so it's probably, it's a long time. It goes so quick. I can remember being in, we were married by Pastor Al, and 26 years ago in January, and I can still remember, it feels like yesterday, honestly, being in the same church. So it goes fast, but we talk a lot. We're best friends. Yeah. We've got everything. There's nothing that we hold from each, Stacey and I. Like, if someone's told Stacey something, they've probably told me. It's just the thing that nothing is left on the shelf. Nothing is hidden. Everything's open between us. So, and we enjoy each other's company. So I think that, and we'll often think out aloud a lot. And now it's almost like, I'll go, Stace, did you say this? No. Well, and then we work things through. But there's got to. How do you have unity if you don't talk about stuff?
Yeah.
How do you come into agreement without talking about stuff? We are not one for big family meetings. You know, some people have the big. We're going to have a family meeting. Call everyone. We
at the table now.
That's right. It's life happens during life. And we bring those things up all the time, and we'll make sure if something, and often the best way to do something and treat a hard subject is in the context of fun and laughter and doing. Around a board game, maybe you can talk about stuff. And you go, oh, well, Jesse was grumpy this day. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, thanks, Jesse. You know, and we can all have a joke about it, and he can realise how his actions affect everybody else. Not that Jesse's ever grumpy.
So, I just want to
answer the question.
Yeah, it did. So I want to bring us back to something that you said a few questions ago. You mentioned that when it comes to your family, and this is in the context of your house that you're building, but also you said that your family, you want it to be a place where people can come back to and want to come back to.
Yeah.
Can you explain, like, that's kind of a big goal, but when it comes to the role of family and the goal of family, how has that defined how you've run your family? And also, is that the ultimate goal for you, or are there layers on it?
Yeah, it's something we're working through, and we don't want to be that family had mum and dad are in a 2-bedroom apartment somewhere where kids, you say they're always welcome, but there's never any room. Or when everyone comes in and there's a lot of and you stay for a week, but you're living on mattresses on the floor, and everyone wants to be there, but the environment doesn't really support it.
Yeah.
If we've got an environment to support something, then it makes it a lot easier to do it. It facilitates things. And I love the analogy of having a fruit bowl on the table. If there's a fruit bowl on the table full of fruit, you'll go walk past and you'll grab a piece. If that fruit bowl was full of lollies, you'd grab the lollies. You know, you wouldn't eat as healthy as if it was full of fruit, because it's in front of you and the environment has been made to make it easy to do the right thing. So that's what we're trying to build, the environment, and invest into the family so that when people want to pop in, it's not an issue. They don't have to ask. They know that there's always a place. Yeah. And we're saying that there's always a place by investing into that. And we want to provide a place where if people want to come and stay and just, like, no one knows each other better than family knows each other. We know each other's strengths and our weaknesses, and we want to encourage each other's strengths, celebrate their victories, and when they're going through they're going through a challenge, come together. And we want to build a place that facilitates that.
Yeah.
Now that's our immediate family as well, but then there's the larger Christian church family, which there's a facility to come and do connect groups and do life together, then it makes it a lot easier than if you're living in a 2-bedroom apartment, you know, up on the 7th floor where you've always got to punch a code to get through. It just doesn't facilitate that.
Yeah.
So we're investing into it because we believe that that's where we need to hit. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that language of investing, that you're investing into the physical home. But you were also saying that with that fruit bowl analogy, you're investing into the lives of your family. So I guess listening to how you were saying that your you don't really have many rules and guidelines, and that's I will say that's very anti what most parenting books and stuff at the moment are saying, where it's like you need to have all these guidelines and that. But I understand where you're coming from. But when it comes to the investing into the future of your kids, what are some things, or it does not necessarily guidelines, but maybe routines or principles or things that you do practically as a family to invest into your kids?
Yeah, right. So we've been one big for having dinners around the table, dinners at night. It seems a simple thing, but when this has been so good for the whole isolation thing, with dinner every night at home with family. Yeah. You get to talk about stuff. Another thing is sometimes all the devices that we've got, they don't foster connection and relationship.
Absolutely.
So sometimes you've got to put them away and put out a board game. Sometimes you need to we'll go for a walk and we'll do it together. We'll go on holidays together. The biggest thing I think that you can do together is that meal.
Yeah.
You say, this is we don't. And when we didn't have these restrictions, youth want to be out every night. Young kids are in bed. That's a challenge we got. Youth want to be out, but young kids Holly needs to be in bed. So we've got to find that balance. But rather than make it a rule, it's like talk to the older kids to say that you're important in the life of Holly. Yeah. Important to grow, to teach her, and she needs to see how you do life, and we need to talk about all of this. So let's work this out together. So I won't lay down a rule and say you shall be home at 6:30 for dinner. We'll say, when are you going to be home? All right, can we work out dinner for here? So there's a negotiation, because no one loves rules. But everyone's got to come to an agreement, don't they?
Yeah.
What else do we do?
I love that. It's like you're talking about. It's like compelling and bringing the why. It's like, hey, this is why. Yep. And it sounds like a team effort. Like you're doing family together.
That's it. Yep. It's a team effort, because it's no good me laying down the law and saying we will do this and everyone fall in line. That doesn't promote anything, and it's except probably legalism. Yeah. It's the same as the Christian life. If I was only to do church on Sunday and then not show anything during the week, the kids grow up thinking, well, Christianity is just 90 minutes on a Sunday morning. But it's not about that. We talk about stuff. We make an effort they will see me with the Bible open on reading on the couch. They will see Stacey and I pray together. We will include them, and so it's a lifestyle, and it's a team effort. Yeah, I love that, what you said.
Yeah,
totally.
Cool.
Yeah, you can't do it. Kids teach me so much. Like, you talk about wives submit to your husbands. Man, sometimes I have to submit to what the kids are going to do. And you've got to be humble. There can't be an out. Pride doesn't. There's no life in that, is there?
No, not at all.
How often have you ever gotten proud and obstinate, and life's come out of that? It never does. It comes out of humility and, man, I made this mistake. We're all growing, but what do you say?
Yeah.
And, kids are good at it. Like, they're forgiving, they're loving, they're good.
Yeah.
That openness, I think, is the thing. We talk about everything. There's nothing that gets off the table.
Does that all happen at the dinner table?
No.
With everyone?
No. It might happen the washing up. All the kids are washing up.
Yeah.
Or it might happen when deciding who wants to watch what on telly. That's a great place to start. Something's on television and I'm the one who'll go up and say, what are you watching? And it'll be like this. And I said, what do you think about that? It's like you've got these two people arguing, and like nothing good's coming out of their lips. What are we watching that for? And then that is that just is a natural conversation of about how do we treat each other.
Yeah.
You know? I'm trying to think of an example. I don't know.
I think I understand. I think it's like, instead of saying, "Hey, we don't do this," it's looking for teachable moments through other things. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like your whole approach to family is all around the why. It's all around helping people understand why we do this as a family. And it's obviously led to a healthy family.
Well, it has. But the problem is then you get an 8-year-old comes up, why, Dad? Why can't I do this?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, you know how you're 8, Holly, and I'm 46? I've sort of learned some stuff in there, and maybe you just have to trust me on this. Another thing is, you know, the big talk about the birds and the bees when they get older. Oh, Mum and Dad need to have the talk. We never have the talk because it's woven into life as from when they're little right up to when they go, you know, when they're in year 12. So it's a topic that is just in the fabric of our life, that we talk about relationships and appropriate and how to do things. So it makes it good because nothing's ever awkward then. It's just free life together, and as a team, we've got a goal, and the goal is to see each other, everyone flourish in what their God-given ability is.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that.
Which is great.
Yeah. Well, because either it's like, I'm just going to avoid it and let the local youth group talk about it, or actually, I'll tell you this, as a youth leader, if you leave it up for a youth leader to parent your kid, they're going to be parented not by their kid, by their friends. It'll be by their friends. They're going to be hearing about it. So making those conversations normal also removes the awkward shame of when they actually do get married, and then suddenly it's like, oh, I actually am prepared for this.
You know what we'll do sometimes when the kids are in sort of upper years 10, 11 and 12, we'll talk to them. So what's going on? Who's sleeping with who? who's going out with this person, and what's happening there? And we'll talk, what do you think about that? And how's that worked out for them? And it's a conversation that is, we try to have playground conversation at home, because it just brings everything out into the open, so that I want them to talk about stuff so that we can address it in the right way.
Yeah, and it builds trust. And I think we're going to finish up on this conversation soon. But you know, one thing that I've recognized from what our conversation is that really you're able to have those kind of conversations now because you've invested into creating a trusting relationship between your family in the past. But what if there's a listener here or someone who's watching who it's maybe a little bit later on, maybe their kids are in the teenage years and they haven't had that opportunity to build the trust earlier on? How would they begin to kind of create a similar environment in their own home? It's a big question, but
it is a big question. Hey, we've had peace. I'm going to get a little bit spiro here, so bear in mind. This has worked for us. Is peace? You want peace in the house, and peace is not the absence of any trouble. Peace is actually the presence of a person, and that person's Jesus. He's the Prince of Peace. So if he lives in me, and if Jesus was put into the situation of an unrested house, he'd fix it. He'd fix the unruly teenager. He'd be able to lovingly bring everyone in line. So everything to fix something, your heart's got to be right with God, and you have to spend time with him.
Yeah.
So that your responses become his responses. And the way that when a situation presents itself, you can speak life into that situation. You can show the heart of the Father, a loving heart, and you're not condemning, critical, and not trying to change everyone. We can't change anybody. I can't change an unruly 15-year-old. I can change me maybe on a good day. So I have no hope changing anybody else. But if I can change the way that I respond to a situation in the house, I can only do that through time in prayer with God and making sure my heart's right. Because if I react out of anything else, it's going to come out as critical, judgmental, maybe trying to prove a point or something like that. So I've got to be. I'm not sure whether that answers the question, but it's
big.
It's big. I can't change the house. I cannot change anybody.
Yeah.
I can change me, and I can bring peace to a situation. And I think I can. I think that's the thing that as Christians we're called to do.
Yeah.
We're to be salt and light into a situation, and regardless of what's going on, it doesn't have to change where my heart is.
Yeah, it's like a personal change. It is a personal
change, yeah, that happens first, and from there it goes, it oozes out.
Yeah.
So that when somebody does something wrong, then my response calms the waters. My response speaks life, and it's always loving, and it's always receiving, and it's always saying, I love you, well, let's do this together.
And it's not just slapping on rules straight up.
No, it doesn't work for me.
Well, I've heard it said, I'm only a very new parent, but I've heard it said that you can break up your parenting years into different sections. The first one is discipline. So if a baby does something wrong or an infant does something wrong, you discipline them. The next one is the training. This is why we're disciplining. The next one is a coach in the teenage years. It's like, you now know why, but now I'm here coaching, and then onwards it's friendship after that. And I think if you slap on those disciplines after years of no discipline, it just kind of pushes people out. But
totally,
if you do what you're suggesting, where it's like, instead of looking outwardly, going, it's all your issue, it's going, what can I do for myself to help change this environment?
Yeah,
that's massive.
Absolutely, yeah. It's I don't know if it's a challenge. It's the biggest privilege.
Yeah.
To be able to shine and build a family. I love it. Every day we wake up and we thank God for the family that He's built and our kids. We've got amazing kids. In fact, I mean, we could bring them in here and it's just a good thing to see God at work. So there hasn't been too many how-tos in all of this, but I hope it helps. Everything comes out of an attitude of the heart, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're taking your approach to family and we're talking about the why. Not so much the what.
That's great. Love it.
Love it. Before we finish, is there anything else you want to mention?
No, I don't think so. I do want to say that you can't have a mum and dad. It starts with mum and dad, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. And
awesome.
I'm good.
Great. Well, I do have one quote that I've heard, just to end with. I've heard it said that the greatest thing that you possibly may do for the kingdom of God may not be something that you do, but someone that you raise. And that all happens in family. Yeah. Family is the foundation. Yeah. So thank you, Scott, for chatting a little bit about that.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure. Thank you.
And if you're watching, thank you so much for watching. We will see you next week.